Chijin here, and welcome to part 2 of my video guide to the visual novel database. In this part I will focus on the individual pages for visual novels, as well as the user profiles. Then on to the actual page for the individual visual novels themselves. On this page you will find an image, likely from the cover, then the title of the visual novel, as well as aliases. After this you will see the estimated length of the visual novel. This might not be completely correct, but works okay as a rough estimation. Then there is developers and publishers. These are links you can click to see everything they've worked on as a list of plain text. And of course you could search up the developers in the search function I mentioned previously. Then there is a list of visual novels that shares relation to the visual novel, and then links to other pages where you might find useful information, as well as links to where you can buy it. After that is the user options, which I will get back to after I've talked about user profiles. Then a short description of the visual novel, and under there are tags so that you can see what type of content the visual novel contains. Or you can use the tags to search for other visual novels with that type of content. Then you can see all of the different releases of the visual novel, officials as well as unofficial, and clicking on them will give you more information about that specific release, as well as links to places like the official website or places where you can buy it. Then there is a list of the staff who made the visual novel sorted into different roles. So if you liked a certain element of the visual novel, you can see who was responsible for that element. Then there is the characters in the visual novel, their voice actors, and close to the bottom you can see the amount of votes, the average of the votes, and how they are distributed. Then at the very bottom there are screenshots from the visual novel, if anyone bothered uploading any. Other than this, there's also more about tags, more details about the characters, including their traits and sometimes descriptions, as well as mini reviews and full reviews of the visual novel. Well then, on to the last thing I will cover in this video, user profiles. Making a profile on visual novel database can be nice for keeping track of the visual novels you've read and those you would want to read in the future. And in this part I will talk about the different things you can see in your own profile. So first off, the main profile page. Here you can see some of the different statistics over your activity on the site, as well as the distribution of your votes on visual novels. Yes, I've read a lot of shit visual novels. Most of the shit ones are short though, so it isn't as bad as it looks. It's still pretty bad though. Then there is edit, where you can change things like your preference for the type of images you see. I have explicit ones hidden while making this video. You can also set default to show different type of tags on the page of the visual novel, as well as whether you want to see spoilers or not. One thing to keep in mind is that if you set something to not show spoilers, visual novels with tags you search for set as spoilers won't show up. So not showing spoilers will limit your ability to use tags to search for visual novels. Then there is the skin for visual novel database, so how the page looks to you. Yes, my visual novel database page is boring. I like it that way, I'm a boring person. Then the most important thing, your list. This is a list where you add visual novels and sort them into different categories. Built-in categories being playing, for visual novels you're currently reading, finished for those you have read, stalled for the ones you have on hold, and dropped for the ones you don't plan to continue. Then there is a wish list for visual novels you want to get in the future, and a blacklist for those you want to avoid. On top of this, you can also add your own custom labels. For instance, I have a plan to read for titles I either own or have ordered that I haven't started reading yet. As you can see, I have a long backlog. I have no idea how the hell I'm supposed to get through this and my wish list while also keeping up with new releases. You can also use the search function to look at the titles in your different labels with better sorting options. Also, you've probably noticed the different marks showing up with the visual novels. Plus means it isn't on your list but you could add it. Question mark means that it is on your list but the site doesn't know what the hell it's doing there. The blue one is currently playing, the yellow star is your wish list, and the green ones are the ones you have completed. You can also add things to the title on your list, like a short text about the visual novel for yourself to read, and you can add what release of the visual novel you own. There's also a lot of columns you can add, like vote date, vote, ratings, labels, date when added, date when modified, when you started reading the visual novel, when you completed it, and a day it released. These columns you can use to sort the different titles on your list. For instance, I can use my start and finish date to look through the timeline of my journey through visual novels. It started very weird. Then of course there is the vote you gave the different visual novels you've read. Other than that, you can also see reviews you've written, posts you've done in discussions you've started, and the history of what you've edited on the visual novel page. Well, I think that about wraps up this guide to the visual novel database. I hope you found the video helpful. Anyways, with the video over, I'll just do the typical YouTube stuff like asking for likes and subscribers.